Some people imagine that they may speak derisively about Christianity among rabbis. They're mistaken. One of my favorite examples comes at this time of year. Every year, some unsuspecting person will inevitably harangue me about the alleged pagan origins of Christmas. Whether made by a triumphalist Jew or a disaffected Christian, the claim will be that Christmas, and especially a number of its symbols, the Christmas tree to cite one example, were adopted from pagan practice and are not nearly as spiritually elevated and original as Jewish holidays and our symbols. There is, of course, truth to the claim. Patty Wingington explains, Santa Claus is everywhere. And though he's traditionally associated with the Christmas holiday, his origins can be traced back to a blend of an early Christian bishop and later saint and a Norse deity. Texas A&M University details the history of the Christmas tree. The decorated Christmas tree can be traced back to the ancient Romans, who during their winter festival decorated trees with small pieces of metal during Saturnalia, a winter festival in honor of Saturnus, the god of agriculture. What's good for the goose is good for the gander, as they say. Therefore, and invariably, when people bring up pagan origins of Christmas, my first response is to remind them that several aspects of Jewish celebrations also have pagan origins. One need look no further than the Talmud, for example, to find our sages explaining that Hanukkah, or at least its 8 nights of lights, started long before the Maccabees, when the first human, Adam, who kindled those lights to dispel the darkness in the winter solstice. The sages even connect Hanukkah to Saturnalia and other pagan festivals that mark the winter solstice. Ultimately, though, the rabbis did not embrace a pagan justification for Hanukkah. Perhaps more surprisingly, they didn't focus on the victory of the Maccabean revolt either, which could give the impression that we consider military exploits to be religious endeavors, another pagan notion. Yes, the books of 1st and 2nd Maccabees predate the Talmud, and they explain Hanukkah as a celebration of the Maccabees' triumph. But they also give the holiday a religious underpinning. They indicate that when the Maccabees rededicated the temple, Hanukkah means dedication, their priority was to celebrate Sukkot, an 8-day festival which they had missed while fighting. Part of that ritual involves kindling lights, most likely because of the winter solstice. By the time of the Talmud, over 800 years later, the connection to Sukkot had been lost, and the sages told a different and more religious story about why lights are kindled on Hanukkah. This one is familiar. When the Greeks entered the sanctuary, they defiled all the oils that were in the sanctuary. And when the Hasmonean monarchy overcame them and emerged victorious over them, they searched and found only one cruse of oil that was placed with the seal of the high priest, undisturbed by the Greeks. And there was sufficient oil there to light the menorah for only 1 day. A miracle occurred, and they lit the menorah from it 8 days. The next year, the sages instituted these days and made them holidays with recitation of Hallel, psalms of praise, and special thanksgiving in prayer and blessings. I hope you found all that interesting. However, the pagan origins of some aspects of the observances of either holiday are no longer relevant, except in terms of historical and academic interest. Christmas is a sacred Christian holiday, celebrating the light that Christians understand to have been brought to the world by the birth of the baby Jesus. Hanukkah shines the light of our dedication, our Hanukkah, to continuing to shine the light of God's Torah, even in the face of those who would destroy our bodies, eradicate our religion, or both. Today, pagan threats to both holidays, Hanukkah and Christmas, come not from their histories, but from the ways they are observed in popular culture. In our contemporary environment, the sacred meanings of each holiday risk being lost as spirituality vies with materialism for our attention at this season. I cannot tell you how many people, most of them nominally Christian, but including Jewish families who celebrate some aspects of Christmas, tell me that Christmas is an entirely secular, cultural family celebration. What that means is that families and communities gather, admittedly a sacred endeavor in itself, but the activities in which they engage are primarily gluttony and greed, pagan endeavors, even in the 21st century. Christian and Jewish leaders of today need not worry that our people will bow down to the pagan gods whose worship might have inspired some of each of our religion's sacred symbols. Instead, we must be concerned with the real idolatry of our times, even as it is expressed at this season. We perform acts of kindness for 1 month and then ignore the needy for the bulk of the year. We shower our children with material goods instead of our love and attention, commodities that often seem to be in shorter supply than the wherewithal to purchase gifts. Captains of industry and finance multiply their own earnings at the expense of their workers and then assuage their employees who permit themselves to be satisfied with lavish holiday parties. Our one president after another and the governor of every state light Christmas trees and Hanukkah candles with great public ceremony, speaking of peace on earth, while submitting to the special interests who fund their campaigns and then stand in the way of real leadership to bring peace and justice to this world. In words we proclaim each Yom Kippur, our ancient prophet spoke harshly of this phenomenon as he addressed the Israelite elite millennia ago. Because you fast in strife and contention, and you strike out with a wicked fist, your fasting today is not such as to make your voice heard on high. Is such the fast I desire, a day for people to starve their bodies? Do you call that a fast, a day favorable to God? No, this is the fast I desire, to unlock fetters of wickedness, to let the oppressed go free, to break every yoke. Let this new idolatry end, and let us all embrace the historic spirituality of Hanukkah, and for Christians and others who celebrate Christmas too. Let us see the light of religious meaning in both of our faith's winter festivals, whatever the origin of each symbol and observance. Let us keep the light burning, not only for 1 day, for 8 days, or even for a month, but throughout the year, every year. Let no idolatry dissuade us from our shared religious mission to bring light where there is darkness in this season, in every season. And may the one God be all of our partner, shedding divine light on this all too dark world. Amen.